visit appletonmuseum.org.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. On this Tuesday, plenty of sunshine and pleasant with low humidity, high 81 to 85. Mainly clear Tuesday night, lows in the mid to upper 50s inland, 64 along the coast. Wednesday, mostly sunny and warm, high 83 at the coast, 88 inland. Thursday, sunshine and rather hot, high in the upper 80s at the coast, 95 in a few inland spots. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA. Ocala.
All right, 21 minutes after 11 o'clock. Nice looking Tuesday morning. Thank you for tuning in. I think we're up to the 100th day of President Trump, right?
Yes.
100 days,
believe
right?
So.
Our next book, our next author is the author of the book called The Case for Impeachment. Allan Lichtman is known as the Prediction Professor. He's a political historian, a distinguished professor of history at the American University in Washington, D.C. He's the recipient of the National Jewish Book Award in American Jewish History. He's a New York Times Editor's Choice pick and an award-winning author. Again, the book is called The Case for Impeachment. Good morning, Allan. Thank you for being on the air with us today.
My pleasure, Larry.
When did you write the book?
You know, I wrote the book in white heat, I have to tell you. I wrote it in about 2 months, and my publisher, HarperCollins, went through a miracle to get it out. By way of contrast, my last book that you referred to that won the National Jewish Book Award, FDR and the Jews, took me 5 years, and I had a co-author.
Okay, so, I mean, are you making a case to impeach President Trump?
Well, not exactly. Look, I wrote this book because I think Americans just need to be concerned under President Trump about our Constitution, our liberties, and our national security. And it's not a political rant. It's not punditry. I don't quote any Democratic critic of Donald Trump. But I do point out that we need to look at the history of impeachment, the process of impeachment. We need to examine Trump's past history, and we need to analyze his current policies and decisions as President of the United States as they might impact impeachment. This is the people's guide to impeachment because impeachment will only happen if the American people demand it.
Okay, so everything you said right there is really applicable to the presidency regardless of who's the person in the office.
Yes and no. Part of it certainly is my recounting of the history of impeachment and the process, but a good part of the book goes through Donald Trump's history, where I show he has a long-standing history of lying. He has a long-standing history of conflicts of interest. He has a history of simply walking away from problems by declaring bankruptcy or simply abandoning a deal and leaving others holding the bag.
Right.
And I also examine the first couple of months of his presidency, looking at issues like the possible Russian collusion, abuses of power, conflicts of interest as president.
The operative word with the Russian collusion is possible, because that's not been proven.
Exactly, but there are 3 investigations going on, and there's a lot of smoke.
Okay, but wasn't that true for Obama, too? Wasn't there a possible Russian collusion?
No, nothing like this. Look, you're talking about an unprecedented attack on American democracy.
Well,
You're talking about
can you defend
president.
that? Okay, can you defend what you just said? An attack on American democracy.
I'm doing it, and you're not letting me.
No. The truth is, I've let you. I want to hear the evidence that you think he's attacking the democracy. Not you've told me about
I said the Russians are attacking our democracy, and I said he is the first president in history to invite a foreign power to meddle in our democracy when he openly asked the Russians to hack into Hillary Clinton's emails. Plus, if you look at the people around him, they have repeatedly lied openly about their contacts with the Russians, like Carter Page and Jeff Sessions saying, we had no contacts with the Russians. Then, of course, when it was proven that they did...
Yeah.
He's claiming it was all innocuous, just like Richard Nixon claimed that Watergate was a third-rate burglary.
Do I have a way of knowing for a fact that Trump asked the Russians to meddle in the election? Do I have a way of knowing? Of
course. It's public record. It's in the book. I quote him directly.
Quote who? Which person?
I quote Trump directly, asking the Russians to hack into Hillary Clinton's emails. No presidential candidate has ever done anything remotely like that before. In fact, since George Washington asked for the dismissal of the French ambassador from meddling in our politics, it's been an absolute rule that you keep foreigners out of our politics. Alexander Hamilton called foreign interference the Grecian horse of democracy.
The book is called The Case for Impeachment. It sounds like you are pushing for, you said you were not, but it sounds like you are, just in the short interview so far, that you are. It sounds like that's what the book is about. It's about encouraging us as Americans to consider impeaching Trump.
I think consider is right. I think that's absolutely right. I'm certainly not saying we're ready to write articles of impeachment, but I lay out 8 possible grounds for impeachment that the American people ought to be aware of and ought to be looking at. And I also go through the history of impeachment, which is very important because people really don't know exactly what happened with Andrew Johnson or even Richard Nixon.
You have a very distinguished history. I love your credentials, and so I absolutely respect you. And I don't want you to think that I'm not letting you talk. When you say something, I have a question about it, and that's why it sounds like interrupting.
I've answered them.
Let me ask you this. He seems to be very pro-Israel. What are your thoughts on his relationship with Israel and his policies regarding Israel?
I'm not a foreign policy expert. I'm not prepared to comment on that. That's not what the book is about. The book is not about particular policies. In fact, I say very explicitly, we should not be impeaching Trump because we don't like his style, because he's unconventional, or because of legitimate policy differences.
Okay, so any statements he made just this morning or yesterday about, never ever should there be another Holocaust, that's we don't consider things like that. We consider lies from before the presidency, but not a statement made during the presidency.
No, I think we should consider lies made during the presidency as well. He perpetrated, to start his political career, the most protracted, biggest lie in the history of American politics, the lie that Barack Obama was an illegitimate president because he wasn't born in the U.S. And as president, he's perpetrated the biggest lie of a president, which is to accuse his predecessor, again, Barack Obama, his favorite target, of personally ordering the wiretapping of Trump Tower, which we know is absolutely false. And in an ordinary context, not in the context of the presidency, because the president is immune, this would be considered libelous.
All right. Was it a lie? First of all, is the lie enough grounds to impeach somebody? And if it is it a lie to tell the American people that the health care program that we currently are living by would not... We could keep our health insurance. We could keep our insurance companies. That didn't happen.
No, look, politicians always stretch the truth, but Donald Trump has gone way beyond that. I'm by no means suggesting just because he's lying, he ought to be impeached. But that makes him vulnerable to impeachment. Remember, that's how Bill Clinton got impeached, was lying under oath in a civil suit. And there are lots of civil suits pending against Donald Trump.
All right.
And if he lies under oath, he could find himself in the same trap as Bill Clinton.
Alan, again, it's an honor to have you on the show. I think we're probably going to disagree on this one, but thank you so much for being on.
That's fine.
No, I know it's fine.
That's great.
The book is called The Case for Impeachment, and thank you for being on the air with us. Come back anytime.
I enjoyed it. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. The president signaling a willingness to compromise on funding the southern border wall as lawmakers try to cobble out a budget deal.
The president wants $1.55 billion in this spending measure this week to at least begin construction of the wall. He may have to take less than that, but he does want enough this week to get started on it.
Fox's John Roberts. The spending bill needs to pass by Friday to avoid a government shutdown. This season will be the last one for NASCAR star Dale Earnhardt Jr.
This year, Jr. has started 8 races, but has only placed in the top 10 once.